Hello, everyone. Welcome to 831 Day 2. Today, we're going to continue our discussion of Polydoku and using it to help us with the division of polynomials. Looking into the future a little bit as we learn how to divide, we're going to learn that division is actually going to help us in the future learn how to factor higher order polynomials. So, for instance, how would we factor something that is being raised to the third power? Before, we've only really known how to factor something that's raised to the second power, but like if we wanted to go to the third power or the fourth power, Polydoku and polynomial division is the way. All right, so our goals are the same as yesterday. We want to practice some polynomial multiplication, use Polydoku, and use that to help us divide polynomials. So let's take a look at a problem. All right, so here we are dividing two polynomials. So it says the division of two polynomials. So what they're referring to here is this polynomial here, this 20x to the third minus 142x squared plus 138x minus 36. And then the second polynomial, the one that is being divided into that one, is x minus 6. Okay, so we're dividing these two things. Now, we've kind of seen this before where we use this. This is the Polydoku setup. But it's really just a generic rectangle, and we know like the x minus 6 would go here along the side, and we would multiply by some other polynomial that would go here, and it would get us our expression that we wrote down underneath the box. Okay, well, that expression that would go down underneath the box, that is this, that is the 20x cubed. So I'm just going to write that down there. So we got 20x cubed minus 142x squared plus 138x minus 36. Okay, so what we're saying is x minus 6 times something, right? Whatever goes up here gets us this thing down here, right? And if we had this piece, we would multiply, and this is what we would end up with. But we have what we end up with, and we're working our way backwards to get to this top piece. And by working our way backwards, we are dividing. All right. So let's give it a try. We're going to start, right? We're going to start with this 20x to the third. That is always going to go in this first box, right? So when you write this top polynomial down here like this piece right here, the 20x to the third, goes in that first corner, all right? That upper left-hand corner. And then we got to think, well, x times something, so whatever goes in this box, right? X times whatever goes in this box has to get me 20x cubed. Okay, so I know I need a 20, right? Because 20 times 1 is 20. And then I'm going to need an x squared, right? Because x squared times x gives me x cubed. So now I have figured out the piece that goes there. And now I can multiply down with the negative 6 to get this box, right? So 20x squared times negative 6 is negative 120x squared, okay? And this is where you want to pay attention to those diagonals. We talked about that yesterday. So these diagonals going like this is where the x squareds are going to exist, right? So I have negative 120 here, and there's going to be some more x squareds that go here. And the way that we figure out with how many more x squareds, we look at the finished product and we say, well, we need negative 142 of them. We have negative 120, so we need a few more negative x squareds up here. Okay, in fact, we need negative 22 x squared to go there. That way, when I add that diagonal together, I get the negative 142x squared. Okay, so now that I know this piece, I can go back up here and figure out this one. So something times x gives me negative 22x squared, so that's got to be negative 22x. And then we can multiply down to get our next box, right? So negative 22 times 6. And sometimes you got to grab your calculator if you're like me. It's late at night and you're not thinking. Then you got to do a little bit of multiplying on the calculator. All right, so we got negative 22 times negative 6. See what we get here. So we got 132. So we got 132x. All right. So now I'm thinking about the next diagonal, right? This next diagonal here, this is where the x's exist, and we need 138 of them. So I've got 132 here, so I need 6 more. All right, so I'm going to put 6 more x's to complete that diagonal here. So something times x gives me 6x. Well, that has to be 6, and 6 times negative 6 is negative 36, and that's what we expected to see. Okay. So we have completed the Polydoku. So we now know like, hey, here's our top piece. So when I do this division, right, we know that the 20x cubed blah, 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 divided by the x minus 6 is going to be equal to whatever's in the top of this box. So it's going to be equal to 20x squared minus 22x plus 6. Okay. So there we go. We figured out what it is. Now down here you see this thing, it says division format and multiplication format. So it's just a way of kind of writing what's going on in this box. All right, so one way we could write it is just like what we have up here. So in the division format we could say, well, 20x cubed minus 142x squared plus 138x minus 36 divided by x minus 6 equals, and then we would write this thing, right? So we would write 20x squared minus 22x plus 6. All right. In multiplication format, we can write it out as a multiplication. So we can take the polynomial that's up here times the polynomial on the side. So we could say 20x squared minus 22x plus 6, put that in a set of parentheses, times x minus 6 equals our polynomial down here, that 20x to the third minus 142x squared plus 138x minus 36. All right, so it's almost like we took a third degree polynomial and we factored it a little bit, right? Because this is kind of looking like factored form. All right, and that's kind of where we're going with this. All right, so let's do one more. Let's make sure that we can divide. And so we got another one going on here. Same kind of thing, right? So we're going to take this piece right here, the 15x cubed. We're going to write it along the bottom. We got 15x cubed plus 2x squared minus 11x plus 2. The x plus 1 is going to go here along the side. And to figure out what this thing equals, we've got to figure out the top piece of this box. Okay, so I'm going to start the Polydoku process. We got 15x cubed, goes in that first corner. So something times x gives me 15x cubed, so that's got to be a 15x squared. All right, so again, 15 times 1 is 15, x squared times x is x cubed. And then we can multiply down to get the next one, right? So 15x squared times 1 is simply 15x squared. All right, and think about your diagonals. Okay, so I have a diagonal here. This is where the x squareds will go. I need 2 of them. I have 15, so I have too many. All right, that means I got to get some negatives in there. So I'm going to need negative 13x squared. All right, so that way when I add those, I get that positive 2x squared down here at the bottom. So I'm thinking something times x gives me negative 13x squared. Well, that's got to be negative 13x. Okay, negative 13x times x is negative 13x squared. Now I multiply down, negative 13x times 1 is negative 13x. That gives me my next box. And then we go and start thinking about our next diagonal here. This is where the x's go. We need negative 11x's. We currently have negative 13x's. So we need 2 more, right? So I need a positive 2x because 2x plus negative 13x is negative 11x. Well, if I have a 2x here, so that means I need x times 2, right? 2 times x is 2x. Now I can multiply down. 2 times 1 is 2, which is what we expected to get. And now we have our completed Polydoku. And again, what we're looking for here is this in the top, right? We're looking for this polynomial that is the result of dividing these two. Okay. So I'm going to write this in division format first. So I'm going to say 15x cubed plus 2x squared minus 11x plus 2 divided by x plus 1 equals, and then we go to the top here, so we got 15x squared minus 13x plus 2. Now, in the multiplication format, we just write it out the other way as a multiplication of these two things. All right, so in our first parenthesis, we would say 15x squared minus 13x plus 2 times x plus 1 equals, then we've got 15x to the third plus 2x squared minus 11x plus Okay, so we took a third degree polynomial and we broke it down a little bit. All right, guys, that's it for today's lesson. Make sure you give the practice problems a try and let me know if you got questions in the Zoom chat. Have a great day.